I found my wife's second phone on a Tuesday morning, buried under winter scarves in the hall closet. Not hidden carefully, not locked away, just forgotten. It was an old Android, cracked screen, no case, no notifications lighting it up, dead battery. At first I laughed, because that's what you do when your brain wants to protect you from finishing a thought. But the laugh didn't last, because we've been married 12 years. And there is no innocent reason for a second phone. I didn't confront her right away. I charged it instead. That was my first mistake. The phone turned on immediately. No password, no fingerprint, no lock at all. And no dating apps, no secret photos, no late-night texts. What it had was worse. The messages were all unsent drafts, hundreds of them, drafts addressed to one name: Evan, my younger brother. The first draft was dated 4 years ago. I don't know if you remember what you said to me that night, but I do. I think about it every time I hear your voice at family dinners. My chest tightened. The next one. I want to tell him, I want to tell someone, but every time I look at your brother, I convince myself it would destroy too many people. I sat on the floor of the closet and kept scrolling, draft after draft. Never sent, never replied to. Confessions, arguments, apologies. Entire conversations written for someone who never answered. Some were angry, some were pleading, some were exhausted. I didn't know what had happened yet, but I knew one thing. This wasn't cheating. This was something older, something buried, something that never healed. The oldest draft was from 6 months after our wedding. I told myself if I married you, it would stop, that the guilt would fade, that I could be normal. That's when my hands started shaking, because marriage didn't create this. It was supposed to erase it. I went back to the beginning. The earliest draft was dated 3 weeks before we started dating. I need you to know that what happened wasn't my fault, and it doesn't get to follow me forever. I closed the phone, because suddenly a detail I'd never questioned before came rushing back. At our wedding, my brother Evan left early, said he felt sick, didn't make a speech, didn't dance. I remember joking about it afterward. Classic Evan, I'd said, but now I remembered something else. My wife watching him walk out, not crying, not angry, just hollow, like something unfinished had followed him out the door. I didn't confront her that day, or the next. I watched her instead. How she stiffened when Evan's name came up. How she found excuses to step away during family gatherings. How she always insisted we leave early. I told myself it was awkwardness, or personality, or nothing. But once you see a crack, you start seeing the fault line. That night after dinner, after the dishes, after the TV noise stopped filling the room, I asked her one question. Do you want to tell me why there's a second phone in the closet? She froze, not shocked, not confused, relieved, like she'd been holding her breath for years and didn't realize it until she could finally exhale. She sat down at the kitchen table and said, very quietly, I was hoping you'd never find it. I told her I'd already read it. She nodded. I know. She didn't cry right away. She didn't defend herself. She just stared at the wood grain of the table like it might give her the right words. Then she told me everything. Evan didn't touch her. That's the part people expect. The easy villain, the simple ending. But the truth was colder. He didn't have to. When she was 19 before we met, before she even knew me, Evan had told her something no one ever should. That he loved her. Not family love. Not a crush, not confusion, love. He said it once, then apologized, then said it again months later. Never acted, never crossed a line, just said it, and then pretended it never happened. But you don't forget something like that, especially when you're still expected to show up to holidays, to laugh, to hug, to sit across the table from someone who rewired your sense of safety and then acted like nothing changed. She told me she tried to convince herself it didn't count, that because nothing physical happened, she should just move on. But words don't disappear just because no one witnesses them. They settle, they echo, they wait. She wrote the drafts because she needed somewhere to put the things she wasn't allowed to say. She didn't want to ruin the family, didn't want to lose me, didn't want to be the woman who misunderstood. So she swallowed it. For years. I asked her why she married me. She didn't hesitate. Because you felt safe, and I thought safe was enough. That hurt more than I expected. Because safety isn't romance, and it isn't desire. It's survival. But then she said something that changed the shape of it. I didn't know how much damage silence could do until it started eating me alive. The second phone wasn't a secret life. It was a pressure valve, a place where the truth could exist without consequences. I confronted Evan the next day, not with anger, with clarity. I told him I knew. He didn't deny it, didn't apologize either, just stared at the floor and said, "I never thought it would matter. I never thought she'd remember." That sentence broke something in me, because it told me everything about how casually some people wound others and keep living like nothing happened. My wife started therapy. I did too. We stopped pretending this was a small thing, because it wasn't. It was grief without permission, violation without proof, pain without witnesses. I wish I could say understanding made everything easier, but the truth is, understanding made it heavier. Because once you know what silence costs, you start seeing it everywhere. In the weeks after, I watched my wife relearn how to exist without carrying everything alone. Therapy helped, but it also opened doors neither of us knew were still locked. Some nights she talked, some nights she shut down, and some nights we just sat together in the quiet, letting it be what it was instead of forcing it to heal on a schedule. People don't talk enough about what happens after the truth comes out. When the shock fades and all that's left is choice. I stopped going to family dinners, not out of anger, out of clarity. I didn't explain myself. I didn't argue. I just stopped showing up. And the silence that followed told me everything I needed to know. Evan never reached out, not to apologize, not to explain. That hurt more than if he had fought it, because it confirmed what I already suspected. He never saw it as something that belonged to him. My wife and I had to renegotiate trust, not because she betrayed me, but because she learned to survive by hiding parts of herself. That kind of habit doesn't disappear overnight. It takes patience. It takes unlearning. It takes choosing honesty even when it feels dangerous. There were moments I questioned myself, moments where the old fear crept in. What if I was just the safe choice? But love isn't defined by how it begins. It's defined by who stays when things are finally spoken out loud. She stayed. So did I. One night, months later, she told me something that stayed with me. She said, "I didn't keep the phone because I loved him. I kept it because it proved I wasn't imagining what happened." That's when I understood the last piece. The phone wasn't about Evan. It was about memory, validation, proof, evidence that she existed in a moment no one else acknowledged. The phone is gone now. We threw it away together. Not because the truth disappeared, but because it no longer needed to live in a shadow. And if there's one thing I learned from finding that second phone, it's this. Not all betrayals look like cheating. Some look like silence. Some look like words said once and never owned. And sometimes healing doesn't come from exposing someone else. It comes from finally believing yourself. If this story resonated with you, like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to keep up with new stories like this.